And just weeks after the Supreme Court issued a ruling expanding presidential immunity, former President Trump's lawyers are now moving to overturn his historic conviction in New York. Hush money trial, of course, arguing that prosecutors used evidence of official presidential acts with the high court. We follow that ruling. They say it cannot be used to prove unofficial acts that are allegedly criminal. Joining us now, criminal defense attorney Philip Dubé with the Los Angeles County Public Defender's Office. Philip, welcome. Such a busy day in court. So much to talk about. Thanks for joining. Let's start with Trump. His lawyers are arguing that his hush money conviction should be overturned because of evidence related to Trump's official acts as president. They wrote this. I'm just going to read it for our viewers. In order to vindicate the presidential immunity doctrine and protect the interests implicated by its underpinnings, the jury's verdict must be vacated and the indictment dismissed. So what do you make of that argument?
Well, first of all, I'm not all that convinced and I'm not sold on it for a couple of reasons. Under our supremacy laws, I do believe that this decision from the high federal court only applies to federal prosecutions. The prosecution and convictions that former President Trump is seeking to vacate arise out of state indictments, state prosecutions. And I believe that under our separate sovereign doctrines, unless and until there's a pronouncement from either the state legislature or the New York Supreme Court on the sovereign immunity, or not sovereign immunity, but presidential immunity or governmental official immunity type doctrines, I think this conviction could stand. And what does that mean? It means that he will be sentenced when he goes back to court in a couple of months.
Philip, we're in uncharted territory here. How do you expect this unprecedented legal issue to be settled?
Well, federally, I think it all hinges on what is deemed to be an official act and what is an unofficial act. And the law right now is sort of murky and sort of in flux, if you will. And a lot of it also depends on whether or not you're looking at a state actor or a federal actor and whether or not they're prosecuted under federal law or under state law. But what I can tell you that federally, what the high court basically said is that the president is absolutely immune for an official act, meaning arising out of the performance of his duty in the executive office. So the burden will be on him when the matter is remanded back to the lower court on the election interference matter for the lower court to decide whether or not what, if anything, he did was pursuant to the duties of the office of president. If everything he did fell outside of that ambit, then it will be deemed to be an unofficial act. And I do believe he could be indicted, tried, and if convicted, he could go off to Alcatraz.
We are following that very closely. I know you will as well. Let's go to another high-profile case. Deliberations set to begin in the New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez's federal corruption trial. Just a quick recap for our viewers. He's accused of accepting thousands of dollars in bribes in exchange for favors to benefit 3 New Jersey businessmen. This trial has lasted 2 months, even longer. How long do you think it'll take to get to a verdict?
Well, I got to tell you, the unofficial rule of thumb, at least based on my experience, is we allow 1 hour for each day of trial. So if we use that as the metric, and obviously it's very unscientific, it's just experiential, if you will. My guess is we'll have a verdict in about a day. Obviously, the jury's going to have to sift through, I don't know, over 70 witnesses, I believe it was, that testified, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of exhibits were introduced by the prosecution and the defense. So it's a lot to unpack. And it's very hard to do mental gymnastics when you've had a trial of this duration and having to hearken back to the beginning stages of the trial to try to recall everything that was said. And that's why it's really important that counsel do a fine and thorough summation during their closing arguments. But I do believe that this is also going to hinge on whether or not they believe what he did was an official act. In the Menendez context, I believe is all that really matters is that he's not using any power of sway or influence on a pending matter before the House and the Senate. So if nothing is pending, then I do believe that, he may escape this or at least hang the jury.
Criminal defense attorney Philip Dubé. Again, we will be watching all of these cases. Thank you for your time on this Friday.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.